Well, now we're ready. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen a little bit to one of a good friend and great coach, Ricarod Paez. So before we get into Ricardo's presentation, a little bit of an introduction, a reminder that the main event is going to take place in December 17 and 18. We're going to have 12 top-tier coaches giving us interviews and different presentations. And that includes coaches from MLS currently, coaches with experience in national teams. We have a coach that won Copa Sudamericana. We have an ex-player of Milan Juventus talking a little bit about his transition to coaching. So to get the first part going, as Ricardo finishes logging in, so we're going to have Ricarod Paez with us today. Currently, he's the head coach of U17 and U19 FC Cincinnati. He had a stint where we met at Orlando City Academy. He also coached Miami United, which is a third division team, where he actually coached Adriano, the player that from the Brazilian national team, and Inter of Milan. So we'll get some questions about it. And playing wise, he was a Venezuelan national team player. I believe he had around 70 caps. And some of the most notable teams he played for was America from Mexico, so big top team. America de Cali in one of their best years recently. Alianza Lima, and many Venezuelan teams. So let me get Ricardo so he can log in. ¿Qué pasa, Ricardo? All good?
Hi, Nico. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. Talk about soccer, which we love. It's our passion, and it's great to have this opportunity to show a little bit of my experience as a player, as a coach, and my ideas.
Awesome. No, thank you for being here. We'll get at the end a little bit of the questions, but the idea, like I spoke with Ricardo at the beginning, when we spoke out of the event, was we wanted to get his perspective, being a player that played a national team in top clubs. What is that transition into coaching, and what experience he can give the players that are trying to get to that goal that he already achieved. So, Ricardo, if you want, we'll get first in the presentation. So I believe you're going to talk about, how do you call it? Synergetic soccer?
Like synergistic. Yeah, well, I'm going to start with a short presentation, and then we can go for questions and answers. Let me share my screen, and we can start. Okay, I'm waiting here.
So as I go, why don't you, before you get into that presentation, why don't you give a little background of you, so you can touch a little bit about your playing experience, and then what are you doing currently?
Well, I was going to talk about it. Do you see now my screen?
Yeah. We see it.
Okay.
So if you're going to talk about it, then I'll mute myself and you can get going on that.
Okay, perfect. Well, right now I'm the head coach of the U19s, U17 in FC Cincinnati. I've been coaching in this club the last year and a half. This is our second year. I started when the academy started last year because we are very new in MLS. Before I was working with Nico. That's where we met in Orlando City for 2 years. I was there involved with the academy as a head coach of the U17s. And before that, I was the head coach of Miami United, NPSL team in Miami, and I was involved with Montverde Academy too. That's my career as a coach. I want to talk about synergistic soccer because this is my idea. This is my own idea, personal idea of soccer, and I want to talk to all coaches here because to me it's very important that you study, that you go to any course, any license, because it's mandatory to coach, that you have your own experience as a player. If you didn't play, you need to see, you need to be involved in soccer. So you get your own idea. So you start building your own convictions in soccer, because to me this is ultimate. To me, to become a great soccer coach, you need to believe in something with a strong convictions. I know people right now is talking about changing and be open to change, but you can change and you can be open, but improving the idea that you believe. If you are changing the core of your ideas, then it seems to me like you don't have that conviction. And I haven't seen the first coach that is successful at the higher level if they don't have a strong belief and they haven't built their idea. This is one of the top coaches in the world, and he says that soccer is a game of proposals and risks. This is my master. He's my dad. He was my head coach in the team. I think it was the best team I represented in my life, which was my national team, Venezuela national team. I think any player can play in big teams, but at the end, what moves your passion is when you represent your own colors, when you represent your people, your homeland. And I was lucky to be involved with the national team for many years, but out of my 14 years in my national team, I was fortunate to be coached of my dad for 7 years. Half of my career in the national team, he was my head coach, and it was the time that we had the best results and we transformed soccer in Venezuela. And he says, soccer is a whole where ideas collide in a game. So if we start, and I start listening to all these good coaches, it comes to the opposition of different points of view about the game. And that's what it's great about this game, because everybody sees soccer differently. I can tell everybody that even me with my dad, that it's the guy that it's closer to me in soccer, we see things differently. So it's great to have those differences, because at the end, in the field, the way you build your teams, the way you see your games playing, and the reflection of yourself, because to me, a team is just a reflection of a coach. It's where you see if you are going in the right direction with results. And for me, my playing experience was very, very big. I played 18 years in a professional level. I was able to play in big teams of many countries, many different countries, like Alianza Lima of Peru, Barcelona of Ecuador, América de Cali of Colombia, América de Mexico in Mexico, and Boca Juniors in Argentina, and the top two teams in Venezuela, Deportivo Táchira, Mineros de Guayana. So I was able to have that experience in different countries, different cultures, different ways of play, and I was able to win championships in these different leagues. 2 different leagues I won championship with big clubs, but I had failures. I had years where with big clubs we didn't achieve the goals expected. That it was not ordered to be champion. When you are second place, third place, it's a big failure in this type of clubs. So I experienced both, and I was able to understand what direction I was gonna make in my ideas. And then I play in small teams too. I play in Greece, I play in Romania, I play in Spain. In Europe, I play middle table teams, down like Castellón, second A division. In Romania, Politemișoara, a middle table team in Romania. Beria and Pasianina, I spent 5 years of my life in Europe between these 3 countries. And some other clubs that I play in small. So we were able to achieve goals and being successful with the small teams. And we had failures. I went down to second division 1 time. So it made you understand different situations in your career. I play in 10 different countries. So it built different styles, different ways of play. And then at the end, you need to create your own, the one that you believe the most, the one that you feel more comfortable. So at the end, you translate to your players. After you retire, of course, you need to make your courses. It's mandatory. To me, it was more about understanding how to plan a session, understanding how to plan a season, understanding many things around or outside the field that sometimes as a player, you don't understand very well until you start doing these courses that help you a lot. I'm very proud of having these licenses in the United States. I did my first license in 2011. I was still a player. I retired at 2014. So both licenses, I did it when I was still playing my professional career. And I chose US because I wanted to see, first of all, the technology. To me, I already play in Asia because I play in Emirates. I play in 3 different countries in Europe, as I said, in South America, in many countries. I play for the national team, but I was curious about the way Americans approach to the sport, because us as Venezuelans, we have a very strong touch from US, because baseball, because basketball, because other sports. So I always was curious about the way Americans approach to sports, and that's why I wanted to do my licenses without knowing I was gonna end up working in this country, because at that time, my mentality was to retire and start coaching in my country. That was my passion, to help Venezuela in our club level with a professional team. So I came with this synergistic soccer definition, which is no other of relating or the interaction of 2 or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. So to me, synergistic, it's no other than in soccer than this new style that I have in my head of interchange position, synchronization, movements. It comes from the positional play that everybody talks, with the Spaniards being on top of this positional play that we all love watching Barcelona. But then I started watching at Messi, and I was a number 10. So my similarities to the way Messi play was, I'm not gonna say the same because I was not even close, but let's say just a little. The normal number 10 from South America that likes to be against the rules, likes to be free, and always had some issues with coaches when they wanna set me in one position. So I was like a rebel all the time. And I felt soccer in a way that sometimes Messi did with Barcelona when he started playing as a winger and he started coming into the midfield, created numbers up and destroying team by his anarchy of not following the normal structure of the 4-3-3. So they had to create at one time the fake number 9, which was no other thing from Guardiola to try to leave freedom to Messi and not hurting the functioning of the 4-3-3 formation, which tells the positional type of play, like you need to have the wingers in a good position wide, so you create the width of, and you can use the whole width of the field. So after seeing all this, and after my experience with our national team, was where we started to play in this direction, I start seeing like the interchange of position, not only in the same lines, because we can talk about the defensive line, the midfield line, and the attacking line with the forwards, but not only about interchange position in the same line, but from different lines. Sometimes we see it more common between fullbacks and wingers. That's an interchange position that normally we are doing. It's one of the basics, interchange position. But sometimes, to me, it's more about the 11 with the 9, the 7 with the 9, the 7, sometimes even with the 11, the 10 with the 8. So it's some movements that you are creating and you are doing, but you need to have the proper players. Back in 2010, we started doing a little bit of this with our team. That was me on the field playing a Copa Libertadores game in South America, people interchanging position, creating chaos in the opposition. So I did it on the field, so I start believing in this type of soccer. So I start to try to do it with our teams. Right now, where we work in Orlando City, where I worked before, and in FC Cincinnati, you need to follow some structure because we work in an academy, but we try little by little to put this type of different movements, and we are having good results. We have our own academy in Venezuela, Academy Emeritense in our homeland. This is from my family and me, and we are trying to implement this type of soccer in our academy that have given us very good results. We have won Danas Cup, Gotia Cups in Europe in the U14, U13 level. So we are going in this direction, and like I said, at the end, the way to success, the way I see it from my own experience, is first of all, you build the concepts. This is what I've been talking so far. So this is the bottom. You start with your ideas, with the concepts. Some of us that we follow periodization, we talk about principles, sub-principles. So we need to have that very clear in our mind. And then we go to our methodology. In our methodology is the way we train, the way we transmit or translate these ideas to the players. And then we create the style. We create the style of the team. But then the biggest goal for us is to create that style into an identity. So to me, an identity means where everybody feels comfortable when you have created a style that suits the players that you have, the profiles that you have in every position, you have the proper players, and everybody feels comfortable. And then you can achieve success, constant success, if you have an identity. If you look back and you think about the best teams that you've seen in history of soccer, they had an identity. If you take the t-shirt off of the Barcelona that transformed soccer in the last 10 years, and you put them with a white or with an orange t-shirt and you look them play, you know that's the Barcelona style. Same like Holland of the 70s, same like Brazil in the 80s, same like Ajax and Milan from Fabio Capello and Arrigo Sacchi. So those are teams that brought legacy, but they create an identity. They create a style where everybody believed in a proper way. And if you think in your own countries, you will find teams in your own countries that they have created that legacy because the style was by the players. And it was a style, sometimes it's good soccer with good possession, sometimes it's counterattack, sometimes it's different styles, but everybody believes so much in that idea that you create that identity. So I believe that's the point as coaches that we need to look for. It's a big work. It's not only on the field, but outside the field. But maybe there is other people that can tell more about this. I'm not going to talk more about how you do it and to create that magic environment in the locker room, because right now we're talking just in this part. So there is, we call it in Spanish, phases of the game, the 4 phases, that's in Spanish, but in English is the moments of the game. The defensive, the offensive, the transition, attacking, defensive, attacking, transition. So you need to create your own concepts. Right now in FC Cincinnati, we use the periodization, and we have the sub-principles, the principles that we work, but I'm gonna show you my own. This is not related to periodization. This is something on my own that I create, and I wanna have my teams to have these concepts. If they don't have these concepts, I feel like there is something missing. So in the offensive concepts, I want a good possession of the ball, but depending in the zone. In the periodization, we talk about the phase, the build-up phase, the unbalanced phase, which is to me zone 2, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and the finishing phase. So it's different tempos, different spaces that you're going to attack in the different zones. So you need to understand the rhythms of the game, the way we want to possess in the different zones. Understanding how to break the lines by through balls, by creating the space in behind the lines, understanding how to utilize the wide of the fields, the spaces of the defensive systems, because sometimes we play against a 4-3-3, sometimes it's a 3-4-3, sometimes 3-5-2, 4-4-2s, and it's different spaces that we need to understand how to attack and let our players know in our own style, not changing our style, but knowing how to attack those spaces that changes depending on the system of the opposition. Create the positional triangle to attack the spaces, contralateral play and pass, that it's something that it's a play that I have on my own. Zigzag connections, which I'm going to show it later on in videos. Long pass after synchronization movements. To me, synchronize is the key of soccer, to understand each other by connections. And this is something I normally work very hard with my teams, because to me, everything is about synchronized and interchange of positions. Then, of course, there's the defensive aspects of being compact, defensive block, press high, or in a mid-block position, be narrow. The confrontation of the line changes depending the defensive system. Compression from the attacker, this is a word I use a lot. This is when number 9s needs to get compact, and sometimes the ball is behind them already, and they need to press the number 6 of the opposition. In South America, we call it number 5, the holding mid from behind. Sometimes we don't see those little details in the game, and sometimes number 9s, they get just focused with the center backs, and sometimes from behind, there is a word I use with my team, compression, and that's telling my number 9 to come from behind, press the holding, and normally it's not recovering the ball, it's just touching the ball from behind, and normally holding mids receive those balls, and we're ready for a transitional moment to attack. Normally it's very effective. block through balls by direct game channel, close the direct game channel, which we call it in the periodization style. But like I said, this is my own concepts that I adjust to the sub principles and principles. But at the end, me personally, I go back to this. When I see periodization and all these principles, sub principles, I go back to this concept because those are the concepts I learned by playing. So sometimes it's easier to me to come back to those and see my teams achieving these concepts that I'm writing now here. There is some transitional moments, defense to attack. We call it, we need to have secure the first pass, exploit, and attack. And there is different again, concept that I want to achieve with my teams. Then is the transitional attack to defense. When you lose the ball, we need to press quicker. First guy that loses the ball is the first defender. And then the far players from the ball, they need to reorganize our defensive shape. So this is basically about what we want to see with our teams. Then after all these concepts, it comes the methodology. You plan your sessions, you work during the week to achieve in reality, in the training sessions, what you want to see from your teams. So to me, it's the concepts. You start from the game, you have your game analysis, then you plan the session, your weekly plan. In our club, we're doing a 6-week plan, but normally we go for a 1-week plan. That's the way I build it. I'm not going to talk much more about how we do it in FCC right now, but the way normally we do it is from the game, you see what you need to work, you plan your sessions of the whole week, you create your drills, your training sessions with situational drills related to the reality of the game. And then after those, you need to understand the players are understanding, because sometimes one of the issues we have as coaches is we understand the drill, we understand it's clear, but sometimes we don't know if players are really getting all the information out of our training session. So sometimes they go, yes, we understand, and we've been players, but we don't understand clearly what is happening. So that's why sometimes as coaches, we go like, yes, we're doing everything, but they don't understand. They are not doing it in the games. So that's when it comes to a breaking point, when you need to start thinking about yourself. How creative can I be so they can understand the concepts or sub-principles better? So that's when you need to be creative about changing drills, changing different details. Sometimes it's about details. Sometimes I had this issue about this team that they didn't know how to attack the weak side of the opposition. So I start creating some, in our possession games, I start creating little mini goals in the center of the field. And I was giving more points if they played through those little gates in the middle of the field. So the opposition tend to get narrow to block that pass from the central areas, and the flanks were exposed, so they were able to attack the flanks. So little details to try to achieve things without telling them go to the flanks, but by making them understand because of the structures and the rules of the drills, to make them understand better. And then in the game, you'll see the results, and then it's a circle that keeps going. After the next game, we start thinking about what we're gonna work and what we're gonna give to the players. And at the end, we wanna see a team that plays with a heat map like the one I'm showing. This is from Barcelona, but 5 years ago, not now. And to me, that's the soccer I want to see in my team. I'm not a great fan of the Barcelona style to copy that style, but the way they move the ball, the way they position it on the field, to me, it changed the game. I play in Europe. I'm 5'8". It was hard to play in Europe with my size, and when I saw Guardiola putting Xavi, Messi, Iniesta, Jordi Alba, you know, like Dani Alves, everybody was 5'7", 5'8". Dani Alves, I think, was the tallest, and he's 5'9". And I play in Europe, and if there is European players here or coaches, you know how tall it is. Like I always was one of the shorter guys in my teams in Europe, and to be brave enough to believe in one style and put in so many players, knowing in set pieces they were going to have issues, but winning so many championships in a row, you can tell the conviction of the person that it was behind those players playing the game. So we need to look for the profiles of players. You first build your style, but then you need to bring, and I think this is where everything starts. You need to create that profile in your head to bring the players with that style, and then after you create that style, it comes to me the way I get to the synergistic soccer, which is no other. We start with the positional play. Right now I'm showing here a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, wherever you want to see it. And in a positional play, players are in a structured position. They know all the functions. Of course, there is movement in that possession, but players are trying to get that isolation in the flanks to create a 1v1 or a 2v1 in the flanks, and then trying to finish the play. And then in this synergistic is just an example. It's the same play, but players have that freedom to start interchange position. And sometimes the number 9 becomes the 10, the 10 a 9, the 7, it's a 10. Sometimes the 10s appear here on the flank. Sometimes there is an interchange between the 6 and the 5. And we finish that play with the 7 being the 9 being the 11, the 10 being the 7, and the 11 being the 10. So in that interchange of position, you may see that it's kind of not organized, but they can achieve, if they have the characteristic, the profile of the players to play two different positions. And if you can find those players, you can be able to achieve this type of soccer. So we start with some videos. This is me in Orlando City. When we start building some, let's say, patterns play, but that's just the base, because then we start putting the opposition. They make mistakes. Sometimes they don't understand the movement, but we need to be very patient, especially with young players, even in the high level with professionals. Sometimes they don't get it, and you need to repeat, and after a time, to me, it's more to build a style. If you have the proper players, my experience is about 6 to 7 weeks. Some may say it's too early, but if you have the proper players, I think it's the right time to have a consistent system created, and then focus more on details and know on the basics. It's about synchronization, movement, having always 2 or 3 options, and then those mannequins, yellow mannequins, becomes yellow players. And then they start making same possession style, but not with mannequins, but with players. This is maybe a very individual play. This one I bring because this is the contralateral play that I talk about, getting in behind the last line for opposition spaces. And it's very, very effective. That's why I put this video to explain the contralateral, but this is one of the plays we were showing in the drill with the mannequins, the zigzag connection, which is this one, a zigzag connection to go to the other side of the field, which is better than play direct because it's more easy to mark. And then they start attacking by two-touch play, but getting more effective. And this is Orlando City playing 2 years ago, my U17 team. But they start creating like a style to attack, to connect, to get in central channels or to attack the spaces behind. And then you see my FC Cincinnati team from this year, and it looks the same. It's kind of like they try to go one side to the other. They want to try to build. This is a team that they knew they need to sit behind, so they gave a lot of space. So everybody is sitting deep. But we start with the zigzag connection again, going to the other side of the field, getting the tempo, don't rushing. Like I said, play to wide, please. It's so simple. Soccer is so simple, and then they make it look simple. This play had like 10 passes before, but my video guy couldn't clip the whole play, and I was so mad at him because I want to show the whole, but because he's working now with this new VO that it's very good, by the way, but he couldn't achieve to record the whole play. And then it comes the results, because the results tells you if you are going in the right direction. So to me, this type of play gave me some good results with the Miami United and with professional players. I had Adriano, Rambo de Leon, 3-4 different Brazilian players that play in Germany in first division, and they went to Miami to end their careers, you know. But you know, it's hard. You need to convince those players that they feel like they've been in the high level and now they're coming here and they know everything. So you need to be very, very clear with the structure, how you build the team, how you make them work so they believe in you. So like I said, you tell them the wall is red and it's white, but you need to make them see it red. When you achieve that, you achieve everything as a coach. And that's what we achieved with that team, with Miami United. We won the conference. We were second in the whole country. And then we work in SEMA. And this is a game that maybe Nico Pretel, my friend, doesn't like much. But we beat River Plate. We beat River Plate with a high school team, bunch of seniors and sophomores from Montverde Academy. And Marcelo Gallardo, he came to Florida because he wanted to be away from Argentina media and press. They have like a quarterfinal game against a Paraguayan team in Copa Libertadores. They came here to get away, to escape from Argentina media. And they asked us to play a game. So Gallardo, which I play against him and I know him, he said to me before the game, okay, first half I'm gonna put the starters, second half I'm gonna put the bench players. And I said, whatever you say, you know, like I've been in those moments, so I understand very well. I said, look, you manage, I just brought the team, but the team wanted to win because we trained the whole week with that mentality to win the game. I knew it was very hard, but sometimes you need to fool players. And my conviction was always like, hey, you're better, you're gonna win, we're gonna do this, we're gonna be very offensive. And in some points, I remember in that pre-game meeting, I said to my number 9, which was a very good player, Pemi. He plays in Philadelphia Union right now in the second team. I said to him, look, you know how much money the number 9 is worth? They just pay, Bayer Leverkusen just bought him, Alario was the name. Bayer Leverkusen just bought him in $17 million. You're gonna play against him today. Today you have the opportunity to show that you're worth more. So go there, play the way we train, but I believe you're going. Well, that player scored 3 goals that game. We beat River 4-3. Marcelo Gallardo didn't change any player. He kept the whole starting lineup the whole game, and we beat them 4-3. To me, was a great achievement because I come from South America. I play in Boca Juniors, so I know how difficult it is, even though it was a training session, which doesn't matter. But to me, it was great because I was telling in that case my academy director, this is like beating the New England Patriots with a high school team. This is what it means for the ones that don't understand soccer in South America. But it was something good. And then with Orlando City, we had Orlando City after they were not doing a pretty good job in the academy, and with the U17s, the numbers went in 2 months, they were up very quick. It was just giving confidence to the players with the same players. We didn't bring any different players that first year, and we put them in. We took the U17s, they were 80 or 82 in the country, and we put them like in the top 7 of the country the next year when we finish our work with Orlando City. So it was a great transformation. And now with Cincinnati, last year was our first year. And this year in results, we have 6 games, 6 wins, 18 points. They haven't updated that table in MLS Next, but they're gonna update it soon. And we are dominating now the season, but it's a long way to go. We are playing very good soccer, but I think this is our 2nd year. We're doing a great job with Larry Sunderland as our academy director, and with all the coaching staff. And I think in every team, it's doing great. But then, like I said, it comes back to this slide where you have your style, and then you need to create the identity, right? So it's a big step. It's a big step. And I know it because we create identity in our national team, which we transformed Venezuela forever. We used to be the ones in South America that nobody respect because everybody beat. But my generation was the one that changed because we were in 2 World Cup qualification, close to get to the World Cup by 1 or 2 points, when before we had in the whole qualification only 1 point. We lose every game. So we were able to beat all South American teams. And this is one of the moments playing against Uruguay in Uruguay. Not even Brazil or Argentina have beat Uruguay in their home in World Cup qualifications. And when we went there back in 2004, if it wouldn't be a logical coach, they would have sit back, they would have counterattack. But this coach that I spoke before, he was illogical. He didn't believe in the logical situations. He was more about our strengths. And he went to Uruguay and he wanted to propose. He wanted to take the ball away from them and attack them. And at the end, that was a great achievement because that was one of the top victories. We beat everybody, but that was one of the top that I remember. And I wanted to bring just a little bit the environment that you live in those type of situations. So I wanted to show that part because, you know, in high level, especially in these stadiums like Centenario Stadium, you may think Venezuela end up the game by defending, by kicking the ball away, by struggling with a big team like Forlan, Recoba, Paulo Montero, all from Inter, Milan, Juventus, best teams in the world. But we end up with the same style like Orlando City, FC Cincinnati U17, I show you, passing the ball one side to the other, zigzag connection, dominating the environment of the situation in the stadium, because you're playing with 80,000 people, Uruguayans, which are different than normal people, and in their stadium with that composure of possessing, of enjoying the game. When you finish with that feeling of asking the referee, give me 5 more minutes because I'm enjoying the game. That's a different feeling. That's something I try to look with my teams, and I try to look for the end of the games to be not as stress, but to enjoy the way it happened in this time. It's not often, it doesn't happen every game, but that's the purpose as a coach, and that's the reflection we want to bring to our teams, because they are the reflections of ourselves. So that was a big achievement. But then back in 2004, now Venezuela with the U17s in 2017, they went to the final of the World Cup. We lost again England, the final 2017 in Korea. But those kids, they look at us when we were in our prime. And now they are in their prime. And those are the Joseph Martinez, the Savarinos, the Salomon Rondons, the Tomas Rincons, that they are right now our top players. Some of them are playing in MLS right now with good success. And now Venezuela is here to stay because we create an identity that it lasts until now. And that's when you are in America. Now that I'm working in MLS, that's my concern. Are we trying to build our own style in America? Are we trying to copy some other style? So we need to try to find the style working here, trying to build in players. Right now for us in FCC, we already signed our first homegrown contract from the academy, which to us is our main goal, to start putting players from each and every academy, to start bringing those players to bring that identity, because we have a goal soon. Because right now I feel like all my desire is to help this country, to help MLS to get better and better. And to me, success is not only by having a good result in the World Cup 2026, but to create an identity in America that repeats success over time. And we have so many examples here in US with basketball teams, with women's soccer, with Olympic teams. In every other sport, America is top. Everybody wants to copy us. I talk about us because I've been here 6 years working here. And what happened with soccer, with men's soccer. So it needs to be our goal to try to help develop that identity that it leads us to repeat success in America over time. Thank you very much for the presentation. Let me stop this here, Nico.
Perfect, Ricardo, thanks a lot. Let me bring this up for a second. Awesome, thanks a lot. So with that thought of talking about the MLS and all that, the first question that I had here was, now with your experience being here 6 years, what do you think is the mentality of the American player compared to the European and South American player? What can you compare and contrast in that? And what is the difference? What is it still missing in that mentality for the American players to, especially in the youth, to kind of break that barrier?
To me, the big difference from South America, it's like here everything is very easy and they have many options. they can go college. Maybe they don't put 100% of effort in trainings. That ambition, because in South America, players, and I come from South America, we don't have any other opportunity. Almost all the players that succeed are players from poor backgrounds, but with a lot of ambition because it's the only way to help their families. So that necessity, that need to succeed, take them to another level in training and the ambition to perform in the competition. Because in America, we have so many players, and I think everybody here has those, that they are so good at trainings and in easy environments, but when it comes competition, those players, they just don't perform. And there's a few that perform, but then when it comes the bigger competition, they start to drop in a little bit on that mental strength that we need to build. But then there is other creature here in America, that we have so many different cultures. So it's so many players. We have European background, we have American, we have African Americans, we have Latinos. We have so many Americans with different backgrounds that it's been hard to understand what's the best way to play. But if we are able to click and get that way of play, which to me, I have it, but to me, it's no other than play good soccer that represent what the country represents. And sometimes as an Americans, we don't represent the country that there is. It's number one in the world, in every situation, in education, in military. Everybody look at America from below, and in soccer, it's like we are behind everybody. And sometimes you need to fool players. And I was looking at this series in Netflix, this coach from Serena Williams, when he told Serena Williams, look, you're doing 80% of the points when you go to the net, which she was not. She was missing all the points. But she fooled Serena Williams, and she made her believe that she was going to make the points. And because of telling her about what she was going to achieve, she started going to the net. And after 3-4 games later on, she was making 80% of the points in the net. So sometimes it's the way we approach the player, the way we make them understand. And I had that personal experience as a Venezuelan, like we couldn't beat anybody. Everybody beat us like 5-6-0. And out of the nothing came somebody that made us believe in ourselves, like you are better, you are better. And out of the nothing, we start believing like, oh yeah, we are kind of better, yeah. And we start playing with that confidence, and we start beating Colombia, Paraguay, Uruguay, Ecuador in Ecuador, Chile in Chile. So many great achievements that made us believe like, this is possible. If we did it in Venezuela with no structure, no stadiums, no history, and playing in a confederation so hard like the South American, where you play against Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, all these teams. How come you cannot do it with US when you don't have any excuse? So the only excuse is not being able to achieve the goals that we need to propose, but we need to work for it.
Awesome. And then we have out here Claudio Pajuanelli. He, in the same line, he asked, what's the difference of physical preparation in US soccer compared to the big teams of the world?
Well, I think in physical preparation, everybody is been developing a lot. I think right now, everything has changed from the times even I was playing. And I think US, it's one of the countries that knows how to prepare teams in that physical aspect. That's my personal opinion, because I see the intensity maybe here, and sometimes it's even higher than South American, for example. I'm not going to compare to Europe because in Europe there's other factors, but I think in preparation we have good professionals, but it's more about the style, the way we want to play, the soccer situations that is taking the country a little bit behind of other countries, which right now every country is getting closer and closer. It's not those big separations between Brazil, Italy, Germany to the rest of the countries. Still is, but less than before.
Awesome. So Ricardo, to talk a little bit about leadership, the first question that I had here, and also Gabriel is asking, is especially for the top level, how important is it for a coach to play professionally, so to have that experience as a pro player, for them to coach at the top level? Is that relevant, important? How do you see it in your perspective?
To me, it's very important. To me, it's I'm not gonna say mandatory, but it have a lot of advantage because your career is not, you don't play 18, 20 years for nothing. You know, you learn so many things. You learn how to manage a locker room. And I feel like the people that didn't play at that level, it's hard to understand, or it take them a while, or they make a lot of mistakes until they realize what they have to do to deal with some situations. But anyway, nothing is, that's not the whole truth, because there's so many great coaches that they didn't play. And one of the top ones is Jose Mourinho, that they are being very successful, that I think is not like a requirement to coach. But because of my personal experience, I always relate on my years as a player to solve problems, because of the experience I had with so many different coaches, the way they handle situations. When it went wrong, I don't want to repeat it. When it went well, I cannot go the same direction with my own personality. So it helps a lot in building outside the field, the environment, that magical environment that you need to create, not only with the starters, but with the sub players or the players that sometimes are not in the roster. And you need to maintain them focused, because little by little, you start losing the locker room if you don't know how to manage the locker room.
Awesome. And then in that same line, from your experience playing pro, what can you provide, like the youth teams that you now work with, especially those guys that you're trying to, in those MLS clubs, that the objective is to put them in the first team? So from you having that experience of already playing there, how can you provide that to those players?
I think it's the same like any other coach. The only thing that changes is sometimes I can say, I've been there, I did it. And when I said any advice, like sacrifice more, work harder, be disciplined, listen to coaches, because it's all about the same values. All coaches, we're gonna give almost same advices, because we want them to be disciplined. We want them to follow rules. We want them to be on time. It's about those values. And at the end, it's about their talent. Their talent, it will lead them to a professional level, or their spirit, because sometimes it's not about only the talent, but about how bad you want to achieve your dreams come true, you know. And I've seen so many normal players, but they get there because of the work ethics they put on. So it's about giving those advices, but when you went through that path, maybe they believe you a little more because of your background, and maybe they can listen a little more. But at the end, if you connect to players as a coach, it doesn't matter if you play or if you didn't play, because that connection, it's what it brings the affection of the player. And if the player believe in you and you help him, he's gonna follow your advices anyway.
Awesome. And then, especially with that experience when you coach Miami United and your experience playing, how do the top coaches, how do they manage all the egos in the elite? So, like in your case, when you had to coach Adriano already after he was like world known, how do you get all the group to push the same way? How do you manage those egos of those stars?
Look, I have two great examples. One is Manuel Lapuente in America and Mexico. When I was there, we had nine Mexican national team players: Luis Hernandez, Pavel Pardo, Germán Villa, Raúl Rodrigo Lara. So we had like 9 Mexicans, one Colombian, Frankie Oviedo from Colombia national team, one Venezuelan, it was me from Venezuela national team. We had 3 Chileans from Iván Zamorano, Ricardo Rojas, y Reinaldo Navia. So it was like 14 players from national teams, big egos. So he managed by not being close to players. He always, assistants, they did all the work. And he was always behind. He just approached little details. He was very, very professional. He never connected to players. He kept it professional. He was just getting close with 2 players, like Iván Zamorano and Pavel Pardo, like the top, but just a little, not to the point like they can mess around with him, you know? So that was one example. And the other example I had, it was one guy, Uruguayan, that he was very close to players. So outside the field, he got involved into situations like we had parties and we invite him because he was so close to everybody that we felt like he needed to be with us. So, but he was able to change everything when we train and when we work, that everybody respect him so much. So I'm more towards to that second example of him, like trying to be close, trying to be always honest with the players. If you're honest, they will feel it. If you're not honest, they will see it too. So it's a matter of how you are, how you feel more comfortable, because sometimes being honest with players, it's difficult. And sometimes you tend to get away from players and avoid discussions, avoid conversation, hard conversations. So it's about who you are as a person and knowing what's the best way you feel like a leader in the team. I tend to go the second road, not to be so close, but like that coach. But yes, make some connections, earn their respect by treating them well. But at the end, you have to set a line, and you have to always demand from everybody the same, unless you have players like Messi, like Adriano. You need to understand you cannot treat everybody the same. So there are players that you need to understand how to treat it, and even the whole team will understand there are different players. So it's a hard thing to understand because you want everything the same for everybody. But at some point when you manage, I'm talking about high level, you need to understand those players, and if you set the rules well, I think everybody in the team will get it, and you can manage the locker room.
Awesome. And then Ricardo, to finish up with the Q&A, Mauricio Infante asks, is your synergistic idea of soccer as flexible and open for creativity of the movement in defense as it is in the attack?
So that's a great question. Very good question. So in defense, no room for creativity. In defense, it's very structured. In defense, wherever you finish the play, you need to restructure the defensive system, and you need to rely on the movement. The creativity on defense is sometimes when you decide to step a little higher than you normally do, or when you start, sometimes you know that the movement is tucking in, but sometimes you feel like I'm not going to tuck in because I feel the ball is going to come this way and I'm going to press that player. So that's the little things that you let the players make their own decisions in terms of when to press or how to press, but they need to follow a very structured system because there's no other way to defend if the whole team doesn't work in a very, I'm not gonna say automatic way, but it has to be very automatic in my opinion. In the 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, it's very automatic. In the 4-3-3 formation, there's always that situation with the 6 and the 2 8s. To me are 2 8s when you play with 1 6, that this guy go and press the 6 and sometimes it's the other. So they need to understand each play so they know the movements, but normally defensively, there's no room to creativity. They need to be a structure, yes.
Awesome. So Ricardo, that's it with the Q&A. Thanks a lot for the time, for taking a little bit of your time to talk a little bit about your idea, your concepts and methodology. Again, thank you very much. And yeah, we'll keep you posted of the next events as it goes.
Take care. Big hug to everybody, and we keep in touch, Nico.
Appreciate it, Ricardo. We'll talk later. Thank you very much.
Bye.
And for everybody else, the main event is coming December 17 and December 18. Everything is gonna be online in soccerconvention.com. Like we spoke, we have top tier coaches from MLS, national team. We have a player that played in AC Milan and Juventus talking about his experience now as a coach. This coming week, we'll start unveiling all the presenters. Please go ahead and look for information at Soccer Convention at Instagram and soccerconvention.com, where we have all the information. You can use the code webinar for a 10% discount. Thank you very much, and we'll keep you updated of all the giveaways that we're going to start giving: free licenses, discounts on coaches' products, courses, free books, and we'll continue with the free webinar series. Again, thanks a lot for being with us. Have a good one.